August of 2013, Michael Brown died August of 2014. In August of 2013, a 21-year-old woman by the name of Juanita was killed in a drive-by. She was holding her 9-month-old baby. She was in the car with her fiance, and they believed the bullet was meant for him, that they didn't have a pastor. Actually, so I became the pastor, and I did that funeral, and the church was packed. It was standing room only. I never knew she had my card until August 9th, 2014. Sierra lived and started going out into the street and feeling the pain, and knowing that I was called to respond to that pain in any kind of way that I could.
One of them. One thing I worked hard on as a member of that committee was to make sure that Texas was a second chance state. That was something that was really important to me. Making sure that I'm the only Black female sometimes in the room and on the dais. And if I don't say them and I don't speak up for our children, we certainly will continue to lose them. I want you to know that you have African American men and women in the Texas House and men in the Senate that are working for you.
Oh, my sisters. Hello, ladies.
Oh, how are you?
I
That
am
was an
good.
awesome intro.
Oh, and see, let's see, fully accredited. Look at, I mean, well, you got that accreditation. We're excited about you, but yeah, Time of Wisdom was just emerging and in partnerships because we are together. We are what? Stronger together.
Stronger together.
Absolutely.
Yes. That's
Congratulations.
what sisters do. Yes. So you all, a whole lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. I know a lot of us, we got distracted by the Oscars, and in that distraction, we missed what was also going on in the country in another way. But before we kind of get to that conversation, we do want to welcome all of you all that are joining in with us today. Please let us know that you are here and where you're listening from. Renee Jones, and y'all just put it in. We'll be able to see you. We'll call it out, and we want to just thank you for joining with us. But you all, Judge Jackson, who has across the slate just the highest, best credentials of all, and we don't even want to compare to the last two that were just approved through the Senate. But she got 11 out of the Senate Judiciary Committee, straight down party line, straight down, regardless of what y'all. Are we paying attention to this?
We're aggravated.
Foolery, honey. It's foolery.
And I think it's jealousy as well. They know that she will be the most qualified on the bench. And often they would rather have a buffoon like our other person than to have someone qualified. They just can't handle it. Because she can handle herself. I saw her answering questions. She can surely handle herself.
And many of the questions that she had to answer, some of them were the most ridiculous things.
Stupid.
That just weren't even relevant to even them.
Yeah.
And
on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your religion? What does that have to do with her on the court?
I think you're forgetting that they don't know how to ask intelligent questions.
Oh,
I think that's what we are we're falling
yeah.
short. So they ask the questions based on their intelligence. So okay, so she
That's good, Dr. Bradford. That's a real good insight.
Well,
um,
I thought
What he
Dumb
was
and
dealing
Dumber
with.
was really a movie, but I guess not.
Yeah, I was really pained. It took me, and I appreciate it. One of my members sent me a text asking about it, and this is when the hearings were finally over, and I realized that I was traumatized from having watched the hearings. Ted Cruz out of Texas was just simply rude. Was just rude and disrespectful. And I watched her as she sat there with grace in the midst of all of this. And as these folk as they asked questions that were as Bradford has just said, as you all have just said, not knowing even what to ask, but attempting to pull out questions. Whereas you just confirmed Barrett, taking nothing away from her, but she didn't even try a case. Okay. And now you have a woman that's sitting before you who has tried cases, who's done it, and you're attempting to pull something out to whatever trial. Because there was one point that you could tell that, and others later that the reports came out that literally Ted Cruz and I can't think of the other guy now, but they literally were looking at their phones to see if they were getting Twitter responses or getting other kind of responses based on what they were doing. It was a performance.
it's performance, and you really most of them didn't ask questions. They created a summary of sentences or half sentences, and then at the end tried to come up with a question while they're going through
Mhm, mhm,
through
mhm,
this
mhm,
these
mhm.
words that they were using. I thought, okay, Ted Cruz, I'm not surprised about it all. Not at all.
Mm.
His people helped him, of course, they did. But when you attempt to change the narrative of someone who is highly intelligent, you're insulting them. Number one.
Mhm,
Number two, you don't have the. I'll use this term. You don't really have the goods
mhm,
to
mhm,
insult her.
mhm.
So how else would she sit there but with grace and intelligence and poise?
Yes, yes, yes,
There is no other
yes.
way she could have sat there because, well, let me just say this. I got so many responses, so many text messages about what was going on. They said, if it were me, there would have been no way that I could have stood there with grace. They said they would have used some choice words. Okay, Wallace, I see you. They would have used some choice words. And I thought, at some point, you ought to know that we are going to excel. We're going to jump higher,
I
run
want to know
fast.
how many of them in the Senate have degrees from Harvard.
Well, and I see you, Attorney Robinson. You're in the chat. Kind of we want to let us hear from you
You got to
as
say it
well.
again,
And, um,
Dr. Robinson. Thank you.
and does anyone remember Kavanaugh saying, "I
Oh,
just like to drink beer"? Anybody just remember? Okay, does anybody remember that response of being questioned? But yet, if she had done that as a black woman, then
No.
now it is, oh yes, we told you they're angry, they hear, just
Right. Well,
all
that's already
things.
that's already a
But
stigma. That's already a
yeah,
label.
yeah.
Period.
but because she did not fit their mold of what they wanted her to be,
Mhm.
they too were traumatized
Yeah.
because they
There,
couldn't
there,
ask a question.
It's like,
yeah,
That
dang,
was
what
intelligent.
I'm
all, all
gonna
you
say
can
this. I'm
see,
gonna say this today.
Wallace,
I,
all
I,
you can
I
see
don't
was
care.
this, what we gonna do now? What is we
Yeah.
gonna do now?
Yeah. Yeah.
For For real.
And so what about this thing with Clarence Thomas and Jenny? And here it is, January the 6th, that the reason then that 45 felt empowered around it was because we have the wife of a Supreme Court justice texting and encouraging the discredited. What? Ooh.
Come on, Robinson.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah.
Well,
Natasha, that is bad right there. Yes,
thank you.
two
No,
of them.
but look, they're just the two that got caught.
Well,
Listen, I mean, really, whew, it doesn't make sense, and you crying, and it wasn't me. I'm like, ugh. How many times have we heard that narrative?
But ladies, what? No, so we can show what about this with January 6th
I was about
and
to speak
and
to
with the
your,
sitting
your
justice?
talking about Thomas. My issue with Thomas is he should be impeached. Number one, when you have someone close to you involved in something that comes
crime,
before the court,
crime.
you really need to recuse yourself. So because he did not do that, and he was the only dissenting vote, that tells you right there that he needs to be impeached.
Exactly.
Girl, and you really think that's gonna happen? Oh, okay.
No, they gonna
I know it won't happen, but I need to say it needs to happen. It needs to happen, whether it happens or not. It needs to happen.
The comment, when people show you who they really are, you got to believe them. My
That's
goodness,
it.
today. Someone
Maya
said
Angelou, believe them the first time, not let them do it over and over, but believe them the first time.
Absolutely. What's
I
going
can
on?
hear everyone. It may
Maybe
be on
it's-
your end.
Maybe it's on YouTube.
All right, so Wallace, I know we have our guest backstage, and she's on vacation, and so I want to introduce our guest.
Yes, for her play mama, she said she decided that she would come and be with us today.
Yes.
And I am so grateful. She is definitely an experienced teacher. She's a master educator with a love and compassion for children. She is in the field of special education and has much education in that area. She's been educated at Central Michigan University, National Louis University in Chicago, Illinois. She's been at Georgia State. And so she's a professional at a T5 level for professional educators. She has endorsements for gifted children, endorsements for reading, endorsements for multi-tiered systems of support. She is a staffer. She is a principal. But most of all, she's my girl. She's been recognized as the Teacher of the Year in 2015. She has interest and has been working in the area of behavioral interventions. She's a compassionate and passionate advocate for children who desires to utilize key competencies and skills to improve their learning. Welcome to our program, my girl, Ideer Walker. Hi.
Welcome. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
We are so delighted because we really, your topic is one that we really want to talk about today. But before we get into our questions to our guests, we want to know how you're doing on these COVID streets. You are on vacation and in a hotel. So how you doing on these COVID streets?
I'm doing well. I'm navigating as most of us are. I'm vaccinated and booster shot and hear that another one is coming. So prepared to get that. Not a fan of shots, but a fan of safety. So I'm, very interested in that. And I'm navigating, wearing, starting to not wear my mask as much. Still a little uncomfortable not wearing it. But sometimes I walk in and I'm the only one wearing it. So dealing with that. So just learning to adjust.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you again. Just talk to us about Black children and autism. Explain some of that to us. We are, I know I am ignorant in this area. So I need you to help educate us. And it's okay to be, you can't know everything. So I
Right.
call on the folks that do. So
Okay.
talk to us about what our children, especially Black children, and autism.
Okay. So let's start off with autism is the spectrum disorder. Um, and so that's what it's called. And there's 5 different spectrums of autism. And it's the Asperger. And that is normally the person that we see that is extreme in social concerns, really doesn't talk a lot, really doesn't interact, but might be what we consider a genius. Very smart, very detailed to something, very strength organized as far as knowing a lot about something, because it's almost a fixation for them. So if they are interested in a skill, they know everything about that. And then you have somebody that has Rett syndrome, and that means that they have some tics, some things, still socially inadequate, still kind of get a little nervous sometimes, but they are what you see rare in African Americans. Rett syndrome is, they just might have like a little tick, a little something going on. But in all 5 of the spectrums, there is some social and behavior concerns. Then you have the childhood disorder, and that is just a kid that might have some behavior concerns or some interaction concerns, and it comes from not having enough socialization to learn different behaviors.
So
is
the spectrum? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
I was about. You said there were 5 levels, and I was wondering. The first one you gave us, Asperger's, is that
Yes.
the top of the scale, and then we're going down the scale at less impacted, I'm assuming.
So they all are under the umbrella of autism. They all sit under the umbrella of autism. So there's different levels based on environments, based on the help you need, based on how long you go without getting the support you need.
Wow.
Support.
So say more. Explain that. Yeah.
That's
okay.
Yeah, that caught all of us. Support.
So you have, I'm sorry, let me go back. So when you have the autism, it's a brain disconnection. So you might not ever socialize or interact appropriately on a level that is considered the norm. Okay. And then you have the childhood. And that again is the disorder where, you've just not had enough interaction and you don't know the social cues. So a lot of times we see this when this is the child that might be the baby of the family and everybody else is older, siblings are older, parents are older. And so there's less involvement in social things. And they all fit under the autism spectrum.
So talk to us though about the support they need. What is that support?
So as African Americans, we first need to know that boys suffer in autism more than girls.
Mm.
Boys suffer more than girls. In our classrooms currently, we are outpopulated by boys.
Mm.
Okay, and we have not found any research to tell us why, but it is typically boys, and they come with behavior concerns. So not being able to communicate how you feel, if you don't want someone to touch you, if or you want to be in control of being touched. You want to play on your terms. You want to conversate on your terms. Those are concerns that you can look at an early age. The child does not play well. They do not communicate well. They do not look you in the eyes when speaking to you. They can see Aunt Mary 7 times and they still go into a little shell when Aunt Mary comes around. Those are things that we should see in our common day-to-day world. They only eat carrots. The carrots cannot be mixed with broccoli or they will have a meltdown.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Mm.
So, Ms. Walker, can you give us the fourth and the fifth when you gave us the first three, which was the Asperger's, the extreme no interactions, the Rett syndrome, which is very rare, you said in African Americans, and then you gave us the third one, which was the childhood disorder, the behavioral concerns, lack of socialization, doesn't know social cues, and so there's what was number 4 and 5.
So we have the autism disorder, Asperger's, childhood disintegrative disorder, Rett's, and then persuasive development disorder. And that is that they can interact at home with family members. They interact well because they're around family. They a little awkward, but they still interact. But when they go to school, they struggle. They don't have any friends, or they can't keep friends, or they don't play outside in the neighborhood. Even though going outside is not common with this generation, by the time you get to elementary school, you should have 1 or 2 friends that you interact with, or that you want to interact with. But they become very enclosed. They come straight home. They don't play a sport. They just only interact with family members.
Mrs. Walker, there is a question in the comment section. They're asking, can you outgrow autism or is it permanent?
As of right now, it is permanent. You can become better at it, meaning you can learn how to interact, learn how to behave socially, but there will always be a part of the brain that wants to be alone and might like things, that they only like. So yes, you can have interaction. Yes, you can go away to college. You can learn to be what society considers normal, but you will always have that piece of wanting to be alone and only wanting to interact with certain people.
So, wow. Okay, let me just first say this with the information. Hearing some, especially in early childhood, not wanting to be touched here and dealing with, and you're saying that um, that boys, which means that black boys, because this is what we are talking about today, then they're more likely to have this than girls. But I'm also thinking, just around interaction with police and or authoritative figures and these kind of things. What, how, how do you, how do autistic black boys especially, how is that teaching spectrum for them? I guess is my question, in them understanding authoritative figures and how to respond, because even if they don't want to be touched, if someone in authority is is commanded that, then what I'm hearing thus far is that they might have some kind of, you know, visceral reaction to it because they're autistic.
Right.
But someone in authority will see that perhaps as threatening behavior.
And so, with your question, in the classrooms, in most classrooms, in an autistic classroom where they have high IQs, they are interacting with the general students, and that is the best way, um, if possible, if they have a high enough IQ, to adjust them for society, because they'll learn that, and people will still see the signs that there are some concerns, but they learn more, which is more important, how to interact with us. And so in my school, we have a general curriculum autism class, and we best serve those students when they are going out into general curriculum classes at least once or twice a day and learning to interact with other students, because that is the best way to help a student, so that they can understand that everybody's not the same, everybody doesn't like the same, everybody won't do the same, and understanding if you don't want to be touched, and you can't touch anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that if you
no, go ahead.
so
Go ahead.
that, just getting those concepts, those childhood understandings that are not always verbalized, but you see through actions.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions, and this is a very interesting topic, especially in our neighborhood. Dr. Shazetta Thompson Hill is asking, in many places, Asperger's is no longer diagnosed. What do you recommend for parents who believe their children to be Aspergine?
You can do gifted, which is still under the special education umbrella, which is the big umbrella. You can test for gifted to see if they have, exceptional skills, and we just need to tailor that Asperger's. So still providing them with the social and emotional, but providing them with the higher level of education.
That's good, because most of them are highly intelligent anyway, right?
So should parents fear having their children tested? It seems that sometimes in the Black community, we are fearful of having the child tested because we already know, but we don't want it recorded as a special education or special needs child.
So I would like for people to get over that stigma. It is not what it was 30, 40, even 20 years ago. Okay, there is no hallway that you go on and it's all special ed classes. There is no bus that you get on that beeps the horn for you. And there's, the paperwork is as if you go to a doctor. The paperwork is sealed and not discussed. It is against the law for a teacher to discuss someone's paperwork without the parent consenting to it. If you are in, we have to come away from that negative thought process and think, what can I do to help my child be the best that they can be?
And we have another question from our chat. Can someone with autism live on their own?
Yes. Yes. And those are learning the skills to be able to live on your own. And that starts from, because we have adult children that are not on the spectrum that are still living at home with a parent. So it can go both ways. You have to encourage and educate your child to want to live on their own.
This is true. This is absolutely amazing. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I think it's Netflix called Spectrum.
No.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's enlightening, if you will. I don't see a lot of African Americans on the show, but it shares with you what different stages of autism is. It wants those children to become adults and kind of date and test their social skills and enhance them. This is an amazing topic. I am excited that you're here, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for
We
having me.
Oh no, we have a few more questions we want to ask you. How do autistic African American students respond to blended learning?
They struggle. And they struggle, one, because they need the socialization. And so blended learning, depending on where you are in the country, might look like you come in 2 days to school, or and then you work home for 3 days. And some of them, if they have high IQs, they do well because they can get on the computer and do their work and kind of be left alone. But then the setback is that this socialization and the interaction with peers and adults is not happening.
Wow. So in the church, our children are in Sunday school. What would you offer a Sunday school teacher? How should they support a child that they may assume, because they don't know for sure, so they assume that this child may be autistic or special? What would you give them as support? What do they need to know, and what do they need to do?
So I would first say that they need to, speak to the parents. They would asking questions such as, does this happen often? I noticed that he doesn't interact. I noticed that it takes him a very long time to warm up. I noticed that he's very clingy. And then as you approach that parent and you're getting information, you're also kind of documenting different things that you see. It might be something as simple as the way he eats his goldfish. He lines them all up a certain way, and he won't eat them without, he just won't eat them from the pile. They have to be lined to the left or lined to the right. Wow. The graham crackers, if the graham crackers cracked, he won't eat that one. He'll put that one to the side. He'll only eat a whole graham cracker. So you just making notes, visual notes, and being honest with the parent. Not hurtful, but honest. This is what I am witnessing. And allowing them to say that they see it at home, and offering support. Okay, so have you been, when you went to the pediatrician, what did they say? Have you discussed this? Have you looked into this? And maybe helping guide that.
What can we as members of the clergy, pastors, ministers do to support autistic African American students? I know in many cases, many areas, they've encouraged for the concerned clergy groups, the pastoral alliances to come in and read to the students, just to basically establish a relationship with them and make a bond with the student. Just to let them know that, number one, the church is supportive of them. But when you're dealing with children with autism, they are so set in their ways. That one way is the one way, the only way. It makes me think about the years ago, The Simpsons, and they tell the little girl that they were going on a trip, and the whole time she'd say, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Because her mind was focused on that one thing. You said this, now this is what I want. So how do we as leaders within the church support these students and support them in a way that they feel validated?
Offering camps and not excluding them from it. Offering read alouds or different things where they can see you in more than one place, possibly. Meaning, they see you at church, they might see you at their school, so that they can identify that, that you are in more than one location, and that, you're doing more than one thing. I would suggest working with that child, even when they are difficult. Instead of just one person realizing like, oh, okay, I'll work with him because he works good with me. that is a limitation. Now he's only working with this person and that person. Everybody pitching in, meaning you go in for 5 minutes, you give someone else a break. And he's the child stands in the corner. They don't play with you. They don't talk to you. But if you do it every Sunday, every Wednesday, they will eventually start to talk to you and interact.
Yes.
In the CME church, I know they
Wait.
Our chat is full.
It's just going crazy.
Right, so
that adopted school that you guys have, I think is awesome.
It's going, the chat is going crazy. Many of our viewers can sympathize with what you're saying. Barbara Jackson has asked the question, how do males who are brothers, both graduated with IEPs, get along through life? She said, I asked a grandparent who is troubled.
It depends on what their IEP is, because that's an individual education plan, and it was set up geared toward that student. So that is like it depends on what it is. But first, we must educate our children on reading and socialization.
Yeah.
Yvonne Johnson put up The Reason Why I Jump is on Netflix, and it's a book, probably as a reference.
That's one of those same type of show as I mentioned earlier.
Yes. And you know what those?
And I thought you said Yvonne Johnson. If so, you called her name, go ahead. She also has a longer chat with a question.
Okay.
Because my youngest daughter was tested in 4th grade. Her test came back intellectual gifted. She tutored her peers to stay busy. There was an IEP in place for her. My granddaughter has autism level 3. She has every support offered for children with autism. There is another question here that really needs an answer. What help is available for non-verbal autism kids? And will they ever learn to talk?
So it does depend on what nonverbal level they are on, but I would suggest speech within your educational field. Speech and continuous speaking to the child. So that child might not speak to you, but you continue to speak to that child, because as long as they're comprehending, they are hearing you talk to them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But I would definitely go through the educational speech therapy. And in most districts, it's the speech therapist comes to the school.
So is this something that a parent would ask for?
Yes.
They would ask for. Okay.
Yes.
And so getting back to the church, what do you offer to clergy, to church persons, that they not demonize children who have a
You cut out Burns at the end.
she said, what would you offer to the church to not demonize children with autism? What would you?
I would
how do you
say
help those?
speak about it. Speak about it. Speak openly about it to the team, to the departments, to the church. It is not the child's fault, nor is it the parent's fault. Speak to it, because it is a community concern.
Jesus. Please. Oh my God. She said she was told it would go away, and all you need to do is pray about it. Lord have mercy. Can you please share with our viewers, or even those who are clergy, or even parents who are in denial and will not accept the diagnosis, or they will not even accept help from clergy? Will you please help us?
So the way I explain it to most of my parents is that not getting help is signing the line and saying you don't exist.
Come on.
Ooh.
Come on.
You must help. We must help our children. And so help comes in different ways. Help comes with a parent learning how to help their child. And so we have to become more educated and aware of what is going on and allow someone to help you. So you don't have to know it all, but you do have to, it is your responsibility as a parent to provide the help that your child needs.
I think
And
it's
in
like,
some states, it's
okay.
considered neglect when you don't.
Ooh.
Yes. Yes. I have family, as I shared earlier, family members with autism, and one of them, it took, I think he was about 7 before he actually talked. But everyone around him continued to talk to him and share just what you talked about. And of course, he's highly intelligent and he is living well now. He's 20, almost 30 years old now, but um, he definitely had a support system. And as Dr. Shazetta Thompson Hill says, it takes a village, a community. We can't be in denial. We have to continue to support. This is amazing, and I'm grateful that you're here. Our viewers are as well. I just can't say, I can't stop saying thank you.
And
Go ahead.
if I might, I think it's a mental health issue that the Black community has so much shame around.
Hmm.
And if we could overcome the idea that we did something wrong, or and admit that this is a genetic issue that can be worked with. It may not be cured, but the child can become independent, and if they get help. So encourage our parents to do what they need to do, and give them some steps about, if they notice these signs, what is the first place to go, and then how might they talk to their pastor? I need some help, and then we need information on how to help them.
So I would say first step is pediatrician, because from 6 months to 18 months, if it's your first child, you might not know, but if you interact with some family members, they'll guide you. He should be walking, he should be talking. Listen to those cues. That would be my first step. Pediatrician, and making them aware. You don't want to go to a pediatrician. Your pediatrician is your first stop of learning how to take care of your child. So if they brush you off, you go find another pediatrician that is more interested in you and your child.
That's good.
And that when you bring the child into the church, recognizing and being open in that, as a parent, that somebody says, he needs to listen better. You need to, you shouldn't have to talk to him 3 times. Not being offended by it, but recognizing that they're giving you wisdom, and they might see something that you don't necessarily see right away.
And utilize those old heads. There were
That's right.
so many things that my grandmother told me that were so valuable, about not passing your baby all over the church.
Right.
Just because they want to hold your baby doesn't mean you pass the baby to them. So many different things. And also, I stated before, we have a responsibility to cover our children, and we can't just take the first thing that's thrown out there. My oldest daughter is very quiet. She's always been very quiet. But of course, the first thing they said is something's wrong with her. No, she just don't want to talk to you, because she come home and she talk to everybody else. And so it takes time. We have to get to know our child, and then also not validating or assuming that we got the cutest kid in the world and our kid doesn't have any issues. I just be real transparent. I had to go to school the other day and I took Mister with me because my grandson thought that his responsibility was to be there and entertain the classmates versus learn something. So I left and he was singing You Light Up My Life, and he's doing very well now. But his mom and dad, on the other hand, he's so doggone cute, that first boy. We have to do our due diligence with them as well.
And that the grandparents are of big value, because it's what I'm hearing from your conversation with us is that the child needs time with an adult and with the family. If you've got a working parent, a single working parent, to me, that's where the church might be of some assistance to, like you say, give them a night out, and they've got to be able to interact with that child so the child knows. So we've got to spend more time with children who need more time.
Right.
But when you say give them a night out, that's so valid, because that also helps the child see a different side.
Yes.
When they're always with mama and daddy wear down, they get tired, and they allow certain behaviors to continue because they know what the result is going to be. They know what the response is going to be. But if they have that time apart from them, not just for school, because school shouldn't be the babysitter, but not just at school, but to socialize with other people and to get to connect with other people, I think that brings their personality out as well.
It does. And it encourages a safe learning space for them, because they have to learn how to behave and interact. And that's any child. So where do you learn that? When you interact with others, not necessarily with your parents, because your parents, they wear down. Just like you said, they get tired. It's like, oh, I'm not going to fight this battle. You don't want the carrots. I'm not going to give you the carrots. But hey, maybe grandma can go that lasting 15 minutes and you're going to eat these carrots.
So, Mrs. Walker, I know that you started with saying with the pediatrician that there are resources, and I see this person in the chat who says that they've been in the field for 20 years, and that the resources are available. It takes time. Some of the things that you're saying, but what those who are listening will have children and even more so grandchildren. So you say take them to the pediatrician. If there are a list of places or agencies, what would that be?
I would start again, pediatrician. Then if they're in the school system, I would ask the team, and it's the MTS, multi-tiered system team. At most districts, I would ask them, you want to know, every child is on a tier 1. You want to know, is your child on a tier 2, tier 3? And when you're on these tiers, there's different accommodations and expectations and things that need to be done. So I would go within the school system and ask, what tier we're on, and you want to be a part of that committee. Because it is a team. It is a team of teachers that are saying, he's not, based on data, not reading at the right level, not socializing correctly, has poor interaction. There's things that we look at on a school level that we should discuss with a parent, but we may not always.
To go along with what Dr. Burns said just a few minutes ago, there are a lot of grandparents that are actually raising the children. The parents are not engaged, not involved, or not even present for that fact. And so, we need to know, they need to know where can they go and how they can do that. I participate with a group called the Care Project. And these are social workers within the state of Missouri that reach out to pastors asking for assistance with XYZ. And the number of grandparents that are raising children and asking for help it's really
enormous. in our community. You're right.
Yes.
There's
So that would be
one of our viewers asking for tools to help to calm behavior. What tools would you suggest?
so I would a calming voice, definitely a choice. You could have carrots or broccoli. These are your choices. As a young child, finding out like what is the trigger, like what happens, is it when they walk in the house and they see a lot of people, or when they go somewhere that they latch on, trying to figure out those triggers. So it's almost best to have a little notebook where you're writing things down as you see them, so that when you get to a pediatrician, when you get to the school table, you can communicate this is what you're noticing based on your interactions.
Are there any organizations for parents of autistic children or grandparents of autistic
They
children?
they do have some groups like on Facebook that deal with just autism, or just behavior concerns. There are groups out there. You just have to seek out the group that best fits the need.
Wow.
Let me ask this question. Um, so because I can't even let me ask, I guess. So you have a child, and perhaps the parent or grandparent isn't available at the time, and I'm at a church setting. The child now just starts screaming in the midst of the church service. Okay. Normal reactions is going to be okay. The usher, someone's going to attend to. They go, and the child just again. How as pastors do we know how can we even begin to discern, is this a child that just is it's just acting crazy because they don't want, they're just acting quote in a spoiled behavior, or is this a child um, who perhaps is autistic? Where help us to how do we navigate this?
So with that situation you just gave, the usher takes the child out. Someone from that clergy team needs to come and help that usher,
Hmm.
so that you could be taking notes on what is happening. Is it just you want the child just wants something, or is there something going on? If you cannot get a child to calm down in 5 minutes from anything, there's a concern. There's a concern.
Ooh,
And
that's some
so
good information.
it might be, rubbing the child's back. If they don't want you to touch you, they flinch. That's, you noted. They didn't want to be touched. They didn't, if you're asking them, if they're just continuing to scream and holler and there's no comfort anywhere, like you're rubbing them head, you're hugging them, you're telling them that it's going to be okay. What happened? If that is happening, then there's a larger concern. And so the guardian, the parent, then you need to communicate with them and have an honest conversation. Hey, this is what happened today. Is this normal? Is this, have you seen this at home? Has this happened anywhere else? And keep the conversation going with that person.
One of
So
our viewers, go ahead. I'm
go
sorry. One of our
go
viewers
ahead.
is citing a bill. I'm assuming that
No.
562 is that a bill?
So
And
before
Oh,
reading that, let's just ask this general question. Is there a scientific link between vaccines and autism?
that's the question.
So the information that I have received is no. Based on research, it is no. Because we've all been vaccinated at some point, and we do not all have autism. Is there something? Is there an outlier? Yes. Could be chemically imbalanced? Could it be any? Yes, there is something, but it has not been research found to line it to those two things.
There is someone that needs help now, Mrs. Walker. Pastor Simpson is asking or saying, I would like to get some more information from links I can review so that she can assist a young church member. She really needs some help.
So I would look on the joy. I would look on their state law system, since we're dealing with different states, and see what services are provided via the
She's in
state.
Texas.
Right. So
Okay.
that would be my best suggestion, to go and to go to the school system and ask them. We have a lot of information there that, is not just educational value. There is someone at the school system that can help.
Yeah, she wants to help her parents as well, because
Right.
they're at their wits' end.
And you can also look at advocates for special education advocates, or based on what the child has a concern in. There are a lot of advocates that can give a lot of information and support on different avenues and different lanes based on what they advocate for.
Oh, she says he's a 12-year-old who screams and hits.
Okay.
Whew.
Okay. So there might be some behavior concerns, and it might be some IQ concerns, some intellectual concerns. So that would be my first step at this, because he's 12 at the school. I would go and I would ask to meet with a team that works with students that are struggling, and they can provide supports.
This is
we need to be prepared to support those parents too. Just as you said earlier, for film, they feel that they've not done their job, and not truly understand. Education is so important so that we understand how this comes around, and then what we can do to assist them in it. Because I'm, screaming and hollering, I'm sure that parent is at their wits' end, and it causes them to react adversely as well.
This is so wonderful information that people that we in clergy need, but what parents need, that not to and make sure our so-called normal children don't tease or as Dr. Burns say, demonize. Help our children need to know how to be compassionate.
Yeah.
With and children sometimes are the worst. They can be very, very mean to each other, and particularly to someone that's different from them. So our parents have got to work with all children so that we can better help them to socialize, help them to provide activities for them, and not isolate them. What I'm hearing is group interaction is good for them.
I have one last question.
We're at our time, Dr. Wright. We're at our time.
Oh, okay. We're at our time.
We're at our time. Oh no, what happened? Did we lose? We want to thank you, Mrs. Walker, for you are on vacation. You're on vacation, and you stepped away for this hour to be with us for your vacation. And I hope that you're able to see that these questions from our viewing audience today, that this sacrifice you made for this 1 hour has blessed so many people. Giving so many answers, and we want to just say thank you. Viewers, please, please, please put in the chat appreciation. She's on vacation, and here, and so we thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
Giving us.
Thank you for having me.
Don't go anywhere. Just stay backstage a little while,
okay,
and we'll come back to you. So stay there.
Okay.
Oh, so many hearts. Oh, do you see the hearts just flowing? I don't normally see this.
All righty then. Okay, so we bless you. Dr. Wallace ends us again on today. All right, our guest on next week is who?
Anniversary.
No, next week is our anniversary, isn't it?
It's our
Anniversary next week.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
get to have
goodness.
some
This
wine
will be
again.
the third. Next week will be
No.
our third April of Timely Wisdom. We thank you all for having been with us for now 3 Aprils in Timely Wisdom. So,
That's
Lord says the same time, same place on next week. God bless you. Each of you.
Blessings.